Oh crap, it's Halloween! Crash Bandicoot is a game series that started on the PlayStation, and since then has run off the rails, bounced off the walls, and entered the sheets for reasons you wouldn't think of. Or maybe you would, you freak. You think that'd be it, but surprisingly, our little Manuka boy has had a few jaunts outside of the world of video games into other forms of media. And because this is my obsession for the next few months, I want to talk about that. Starting with the oldest thing on this list of 4, which you might already know about if you know the history of Crash 1.
Dr. Cortex is a genius, a mental aberration.
Your first thought might be, is this some scrapped Crash cartoon theme song? Well, yes, but actually no. Not for any show, but a planned intro cutscene for the first Crash Bandicoot game. It's scrapped, so it counts for the arbitrary rules of this video. It's a very Saturday morning cartoon vibe, with the theme song all quirky and whimsical. It makes me think this is what's playing in Crash's own head before the start of the game. The animation is pretty good too, though I'm not sure why Brio is taller than Cortex or why Ripperoo is white. That said, when you look at this cutscene versus the one they used for the final game, it makes sense why this cartoon intro was scrapped. I mean, the official reason was because Sony wanted to push the use of 3D in their games, so the cutscenes were done with the in-game models, but I feel like the 3D cutscene has more merits than just showcasing 3D cutscenes. The final version feels like there's more stakes attached. It highlights more of how evil Cortex and Brio are. It transitions into the gameplay a little more smoothly. In my eyes, it also grounds the game a little more than the animated intro does, what with the overall lack of cutscenes in the game, and especially when the animation breaks the fourth wall when they literally say, "Play our game and tell your friends so we make lots of loot." I neglected to bring up that there's also an animated cutscene for the end of the game, but it's pretty close to what happens in the game's final cutscene. You rescue Tawna, Cortex is defeated, the game ends on a small cliffhanger. It makes me wonder what a 100% version would have looked like if there was going to be one at all. Above all, it's a neat piece of Crash's early history. Moving a little forward into the release of Crash 1 and Crash 2, here's something we did get, but only in Japan. These are the Crash Bandicoot mangas published by Koro Comics. One made for Game 1 and one made for Game 2. Both mangas have differing takes on their respective games and how the story is told. Manga 1 is a very abridged version of the first game created by Takahiro Yamashita. I mean very abridged. The only boss Crash faces before getting to Cortex is Papu Papu. Tawna is also featured a little more and has a smidge more personality than in the game, which for Crash 1 is saying a lot. Notably, the Wumpa fruit are referred to as apples, in line with the Japanese localization. Perhaps the biggest thing the manga does differently from the games is make Crash talk, like full sentences. I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt for this because it was the very first Crash game. They might not have realized Crash was meant to be a mute protagonist. Maybe it was just for the sake of the medium. Probably that last one. Either way, it's not a huge issue here. Crash still feels in character for the most part. Cortex, on the other hand, yeah. Aku Aku's a little off in design and personality, but then again, he was quite literally a plank of wood until warped, so that's forgivable too. Manga 2, you may have guessed, is an adaptation of the second game, created by Kawashima Ari this time. It also took more, shall we say, creative liberties with the game's plot. The manga itself is called Danse de Jump na Daiboken, or roughly translated, Dance Then Jump, A Grand Adventure. Coco and Engine are introduced as minor characters, and true to the Japanese canon, Tawna's departure is explained by her ditching Crash for Pinstripe, as seen in a letter. Crash still speaks in full sentences, and Wumpa are still called apples, and now we have the crystals, Power Stones. But other than that, nothing else really crosses over from the last manga. We do also get more appearances from the mini-bosses this time around, like Ripperoo and the Komodo Bros. When I said this manga takes some creative liberties with the story though, I meant it. Cortex is the biggest example of that, as he's much more physically involved in finding the crystals alongside Crash. The locations they go to find the crystals are loosely based on locations in the game, but come with their own stories, and sometimes the plot just takes a hard left into other random stuff, like Crash and Aku Aku getting into a fight and splitting up, and Crash getting bonked on the head so hard he reverts back to a baby. So, I guess the crystals aren't a huge concern this time around. Hey look, it's fake Crash! The only downside is, after 14 issues and 2 volumes, it's left on a cliffhanger with a 3rd volume planned but cancelled. Either way, the manga is a pretty entertaining read, and if you know the game, you know how it would end. I do want to shout out this translated version you're seeing because it has a charm all its own, like seeing Crash Bandicoot say the word cock and calling Aku Aku a poopy noob. You can't get that anywhere else. As we depart from the mangas, we're going to take a trip through the time twister all the way to 2016. 8 years after the great Crash Bandicoot drought that left us with the Titans games, and when Skylanders had hit the big time with reanimating Spyro's corpse. The series had just dropped its last game, Skylanders Imaginators, and along with that, a Netflix series called Skylanders Academy. As someone who watched this as a kid when it came out, it's alright. Nothing to write home about at best, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Yet. Because 2016 was also Crash's 20th anniversary, and anyone who knows about Crash or Spyro knows the two used to be best PS1 buds. Skylanders decided to let the Bandicoot have some time to shine once more by giving him an expansion pack for Imaginators and a guest episode in Academy. The expansion pack was, again, nothing to really write home about. Why is Cortex a sorcerer? He has a gun. But as for the show...
Crash Bandicoot. And I have no idea how I got here. Last thing I remember, I was on the Wampa Islands and about to free my friend Tawna from the clutches of the evil Dr. Neo Cortex.
Yeah, so they took the wrong lessons from the Crash manga, it seems. I really don't know why they thought Crash needed a voice in this, because he didn't have one in the game. Aku Aku was there. He's not here. You could have easily dropped him here. Was the voice actor too busy or something? I don't know. This feels wrong. And Crash in the show is just too, I don't know, competent?
Well, since Dr. Cortex mutated me, pretty much all of my abilities and senses are enhanced. Enhanced strength, enhanced stamina...
Enhanced taco consumption?
It feels like the complete opposite of how Crash was back in the scrapped PS1 cutscene, where he's explicitly nothing more than an idiot driven by love. He's also way too casual sounding about the fact he was previously trying to save his girlfriend from being brainwashed before ending up in Skylanders. This whole episode, looking back, is just weird. Too weird. They bring him back in the third season, and then bring in Coco for the last episode, and she's okay, I guess. I definitely like her more than Crash. Maybe not.
Come on, mate. Don't tell me you don't know an electromagnetic pulsar cannon powered by a radioactive neon uranium battery when you see one.
Oh, right.
If anything, I see the Crash and Skylanders collab almost like a tester for how much people enjoyed seeing Crash back in the limelight. And on the development side, how Toys for Bob, Vicarious Visions, and Beanox could fare with creating more games for him and Spyro. If I'm being honest, you can thank Skylanders for giving us all the new Crash games from the Insane Trilogy and beyond. Yeah, thanks Skylanders. Right now. It will amuse me. Finally, there's something I want to talk about that I haven't seen anyone talk about since the news first broke back in 2021. Picture this. It's the start of 2021. 2020 has ended, thank God, and Crash Bandicoot 4 is still new and fresh and everyone loves it despite the game being tough as balls. You think to yourself, man, I want more Crash Bandicoot. And then the news leaks that a Crash Bandicoot cartoon series has just been turned down by Amazon Prime. Taken from a Reddit post, which has since been deleted, Activision and Amazon were discussing a potential Crash animated series, but it ended up not going anywhere due to disputes over scripts. What evidence we have of this includes a 30-second test animation and a production Bible circa April 2020. According to this production Bible, the name of the series was going to be the Crash Bandicoot Insane Cartoon Show, and as we can see from the test animation, the production crew were very inspired by Looney Tunes, general classic Warner Bros. Style of animation, which Crash himself was already inspired by, so it all works out. The show was going to be 7-minute episodes combined into a half-hour block with bumpers interspersed. Some episode plots included Beach Blanket Bandicoot, where Crash and Koala Kong compete for Tawna's affection at the beach, What a Baby, where Tiny Tiger accidentally turns Cortex into a baby, and Nina and Coco have to play babysitter until they can change him back, Hold the Ice, where Crash, Aku Aku, and Polar head to the mountains for winter sports and compete against penguins that win at everything, so on and so forth. Is it a shame we never got this show because of petty disputes? Yeah, it is. But I kind of feel this also signaled the beginning of the end for Crash. Crash Team Rumble would be the next Crash game, only because Activision didn't want a Crash Bandicoot 5 with a freaking Spyro crossover, and instead wanted another Fortnite. The game's updates have been done for a while now, and since Toys for Bob, 4 and Rumble's developer, has gone independent, news on any new games from them at all has been stagnant. I'm sure they're working on great things behind the scenes, and I'm never the type of person who asks for sooner than later in this regard, but just a little news? A smidge of news would be neat. And I'm off track as usual. Anyway. It's cool that Crash at least had opportunities to appear in media separate from his games, even if they were tangentially related. At the same time, I wish Crash had more opportunities like these to show off how he can behave in a non-playable environment, whether or not they would have succeeded or even be likable. Crash Bandicoot as a whole has so much potential and has had it for years. I didn't want to bring these up since they're officially part of a game, but look at the cutscenes from Mind Over Mutant if you want more proof of that. All different art styles and so creative with how they're done.
Finally! Oh, if I had nipples, they'd kill right now!
Again, Whether or not you even like Mind Over Mutant, you gotta admit these are impressive, and another example of what Crash is capable of in a more animated setting. And that marks the end of this video. These were fun to look back on. I hope you liked it too. If you did, show appreciation, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!